Okay, so this is Mr. Hubbard's notes for composite functions, and these are for your blue books. So I'd like you to copy everything down that you can see on the screen. Pause now if you wish to take your time. Okay, so the key to doing this is putting brackets in place as you see on the screen, between the first and second letter and at the very end. You then duplicate this, leaving the first letter alone and the brackets you've just put in. You are now going to figure out what is inside those brackets using the functions that you are given. Inside the function f, therefore, you are putting the number 4. Then, to figure out what f of 4 is, this is just like we did in the first lesson on Monday. You are putting the number 4 where x is in the function f. And then you figure out what the answer is. The key here is putting the red brackets that you see on the left-hand side of the screen here and here. You work from the inside of those brackets outwards, so you find out what g of 2 is first. So our question is now effectively done, and we would write down our answer as f g of 2 is equal to 13. So we'll look at some examples of doing this with actual numbers first and two different functions. We put in our brackets between f and g and at the end of the function. We leave f and the brackets and we figure out what g of 5 is. Now g of 5 using our function is 25. We now put 25 into the function f. And when we work that out, we get our answer as 76. It's the same trick each time. So we're going to put brackets in again between g and f. This time you can see the letters are reversed, and we're looking for function f and putting in -1 into function f. Let's write this on the screen so that you can see it being carried out. F of -1 is the thing we're looking at because we're working from the inside of our question. We're going to figure out f of -1 as a number, and it's coming out as -2. So -2 replaces f of -1 inside the brackets. We look at the g function now, and g of -2 is what we want to find out. It's -2 squared, which is 4. Finally, we can use the same letter, so f of 4. We start by working out f of 4. Now I can do that just about in my head. So 3 times 4 add 1 gives me 12 add 1, or 13. And f of 13 is what I have to figure out next. Well, I can't do that in my head, so I'm going to write it out. 3 times 13 plus 1. This gives me 39 plus 1, or 40. So that's the answer to f of 4. Now you may find that the x is left inside the bracket rather than turning it into a number itself. We're going to deal with it in exactly the same way by introducing brackets between our two functions and again at the end. We're going to insert the function f of x that you see at the top of your screen as algebra in between the two brackets with g outside. We are now going to write down the g function, which is to square the input, and we are going to write down what that input is. Now this is our function. We could expand it, but we're not going to bother because we haven't been asked to. This is the function that we're after. It is g of f of x. Okay, pause the video and copy this example down. And we're going to be looking at a slightly more difficult example now. We're looking at f of g of x. So we're doing the same thing as we would normally do, putting brackets between f and g. And straight away, we can write down g of x as the function that we're given as g of x. We then Write out the function f. Instead of x, we're going to leave brackets in place, and then we're going to place the function, the algebraic input, where we had our brackets. Now we're going to expand those brackets. There's nothing outside, so we can just dissolve the brackets and write our function out without any brackets in at all. In the denominator, the +1 and the -1 cancel out, leaving us with the function 2 over x squared. So it's a case of just simplifying the algebra to get our final function. Final example, we're given two functions, f of x and g of x, and we're told f of g of 3 is equal to 55. So we'll start with figuring out what f of g of 3 is. In the usual way, we put our brackets around g of 3. We figure out what g of 3 is as a number. Referring to g of x, we're going to change x to 3 and write that down inside of our brackets. Now if we neaten that up, we can just write g of 3 as 9k. So I'm going to write exactly the same thing, but instead of what you see on the screen, we'll change it to 9k. Now it's an algebraic input like we did on Monday, so we're going to write down the function f with brackets in place of x and put the algebraic input into those brackets. If we simplify this, we have to multiply 9k by 3, which is 27k, plus 1. Now this is what f of g of 3 is. We've figured out the left-hand side of our equation. F of g of 3, we are told, is equal to 55. So we're going to replace f of g of 3 with 55 because they are the same number. We've now given ourselves a nice, simple linear equation to solve, and solve it we will by taking away 1 from both sides and dividing by 27 to give k is 2, and this is the value of k. Okay, I'd like you to go on and have an attempt at the orange book questions which you see below. Good luck everyone, and I'll see you Monday if you have any issues.